Okay, hi, my name's Emily. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about Redis today. So I'm going to be giving an intro to Redis. And my goal today is to get you guys curious about Redis and have an idea how to start playing with it. So what is Redis? That's like a question I asked myself when I saw Redis on Stack Overflow. And so I did some research. And so what is Redis? So Redis stands for Remote Dictionary Server. It's an open source in-memory NoSQL database. It was created roughly around in 2009 by a guy from Italy. His name is Salvatore Sanfilippo. And he's very active on Twitter, and he's very actively contributing to Redis as well. They just made some updates last week, and it's a growing community. So I thought that was very interesting. And it's open source, so if you like, you could download it, go read their code, make contributions, and you could even get help with that as well. And it's in your memory, so that means it's in the RAM. And so what does NoSQL database mean? Oops. Sorry about that, wrong side. Okay, so what does NoSQL database mean? We're just going to do a quick NoSQL because that goes into a completely different realm. There's many different types of NoSQL databases, and Redis is just one of them. And for the most part, a NoSQL means that there's no tables. You don't have to work with tables. But with Redis, we can see it as not only SQL. So what you can do is you can use it with your relational database. But with Redis, that means you don't have to do any joins with your tables because you don't have tables. There's no querying language because it's literally just a key value. So it's a key and a value because it's a dictionary. And then that means you also don't have to create any schemas. So what does key value store mean? A key value store is basically a map or a dictionary, or in JavaScript we call it an object. Or in other languages you could think of it as it's an array with an associative key. So you give it a key and you give it a value, and that's how you store your information. And it merely makes you think about how you want to store your data, because when you create your table, it would look very different when you have a key and a value, because you have to think about how am I going to retrieve this data. And since it's a key and a value, it's an instantaneous big O versus querying and joining tables. And this is where Redis gets its reputation for being extremely, extremely fast. So a little bit more about Redis now that we know about what NoSQL means. So more about Redis. So Redis is lightweight. It's only about 2 megabyte footprint without anything stored in it. You can store 6 different values in the value placement with your key and value. And you have commands with it as well. And I'll show you how to use a command later. And with Redis, you can make your memory persistent as well, and you can write it to the disk. So some data types that it stores are strings, lists, sets. Sets are basically, and sorted sets. So sorted sets are basically sets with things sorted. You could also store hashes. So if you pass it something, it'll hash the key, and they'll hash your value. So that way, when you pass it the same thing, the only way to get it is to have something that matches. Hyperlog logs, it's an algorithm that helps you keep count of things, and it doesn't use as much memory. So if you had a lot of information and you wanted to count each individual one, let's say how many times people visit your site, or how many gets or requests you get from a certain site, you can use that. And there's more to it as well. So another thing I want to talk about is why is it so fast? So it's often said that Redis is built for speed from the bottom up. It's written in the language C, which is one of the fastest languages, and it's also single-threaded. And it's also in your RAM, which makes it fast. And so now that we know that Redis, we can store these values and key value, and it's so fast, what can we use it for, right? So here's just some ideas that people use it for and what are the most popular cases. This is from Redis Labs, which is the enterprise version of Redis. I believe the creator now works there as well, but they basically just source the open Redis. You don't really have to use this, but here are just some ideas. So Redis is often used for real-time analytics. It's high-speed data ingest, high-speed transactions, some message queues, in-app social functionality. They use it to store sessions, and the most popular I hear by far is caching. And it's basically great for any real-time things that you want to be constantly changing, any leaderboards and voting scores, so on. So now that we know we have like all these options, like who uses Redis? And I didn't know this, but a lot of people already have Redis kind of in their like they use it for different parts. So I know that Full Stack has it integrated somewhere in LearnDot. Instagram uses it. Twitter uses it for their live feed, and Slack uses it. But the idea here is basically a lot of different companies use it. They don't necessarily use it for everything, but it helps solve a lot of issues that they have, especially when they need speed as a good reason, like a good performance. So now that we know everybody uses it, we are going to do a quick live code, or I'm going to just show you like how you would use Redis as a catch with a relational database, and also using it as a cache. They say it's kind of like the gateway to Redis, because once you start using it, you really enjoy it and you want to use it more. And so I was thinking, so what is a good database that we once used during junior phase? It was like a movie database, and the queries took a really long time. So here we have the movie database, and it's in a SQLite 3, which is a relational database. So here I require my database. Can you guys see that? Is it large enough? I'll make it bigger. Okay. So here I have a code set up so that I'm going to basically, I have my database right here. So this is where you require it. And I already have Redis set up in my computer where I root installed it. And then you just have to look at your configure page, make sure everything is okay. And then after that, you just an npm node install Redis node. And then it's ready to use. So after you npm install Redis node into your Node.js, you can require it right here. So just require it like any other package. You set client is equal to Redis create client, and that's how you create your Redis client. And it defaults to localhost 6379. And here I'm just gonna have a big query that we're gonna do, and I'll come back and code that in later. So in my code, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna want to query this. So before I do anything, I'm gonna start a timer with console log time. And when the query comes in, I'm gonna check my Redis to see if that big query is inside. The first time around, it's not gonna be in there because it's not gonna be cached because nobody's queried it yet. So here's just error function handling, because it kind of just looks like a basic GET request. This whole thing is going to be in a GET for the Redis. You'll kind of see how it works. So you put GET. This is going to be the key that you're looking for. You're getting the key from Redis. And then it has a callback, which gives you either an error or a value. So if there's an error, it handles the error. If there's a value, it will console log the value for us, and we'll end the timer. And since the first time it's not going to run this, we're actually going to go to our database, and we're going to do the query. So this is where you put your query. And the same thing, it gives you an error and a value. You handle the error. And then we end the timer, and we console log. So what this is going to give me back is going to be a very large array. And what I'm going to query here, actually, let's just put this in here. So what I am going to query here is going to be, let's select the first names as name from actors where the gender is male. So that's going to give us around 50,000 different actor names. And then here I'm just going to do a dot length so we know how many there are. And then it's going to console log out that. And once we have the value, I'm going to save it to Redis right here. So set BigQuery, so you're setting a key, so BigQuery, and the value is dot length. This is the value, so I'm just going to store the length. And then here is the error handler, and what's a cool thing about Redis is you can also set your data to, let's say after 20 seconds, I don't want it anymore. So I could say here, client.expire, and the name of your key, BigQuery, and I want it to expire in 20 seconds. Okay, so in 20 seconds, it will be wiped out of the Redis database. Oh, BigQuery, oh, thank you. Okay, and then so this is basically, and then here is just the end, and then we close the database. Okay, save this. So we're going to run this page. So the first time I run it, you'll see the query from the relational database. And the second time we run it, we'll see it from the Redis database. Okay, so this is going to be the first time. Oh, what did I do here? Huh? Oh, gender, okay, yeah. Gender equal M, there we go. Yeah, this was really hard to do the query part. I couldn't do any join tables. I really wanted to show a join table, but okay, so we're gonna exit that. Okay. Okay, so that took that long, and then I'm gonna do it a second time before 20 seconds. Okay. So the first query, it took 2,500 milliseconds to query over this many actors. And for the second one, just pulling it out of Redis, it took 24 milliseconds. So, but this is because I also just stored the value, like the number. But if you wanted to say store all the actors' first name, right? Instead, I was like, okay, so it looks a little different, but here I'm checking to see if there's a range, because I'm going to be pushing each individual name into a, so I'm going to be doing a list rather than just a number, which will be a string. So here, we're going to do the range from 0 to -1, which is everything. And here, I'm going to print the first name and the last name, or the last first name. And we're going to push, we have a for each here, so we're going to push all of the names in the BigQuery as actor.name. And so here, my query is going to be, I'm going to do a little smaller query because it takes a while. So it's going to be select, first name as name from actors, and we're going to do, what's a popular last name? Jones? Okay. Jones. Okay, so we're going to do that. We're going to save that, and this time we're going to run that one. So that one is Redis. Okay. So this one is going to take a little longer just because, well, what did it as name? From actor. First name as name from actor. What went wrong? Undefined. I want to just paste this part in. Have it right here. Okay. A new line? What am I missing? Oh, I see, right here. Wait, no. Smith. Okay. Okay, there we go. Select first name. It works? Yeah. What? Oh, right there. Okay, sorry. Oh. Okay, so we're going to cancel that. And then, so the second time, so this one you see it takes 45. It doesn't take much. It's faster, but it's not super fast because we're going over 2,000 items. And we're also pushing each individual one out. But it does go faster. But imagine if it was much more information. Okay, so, and then just the key takeaways really quick from is just, it's a key value database, it's extremely fast, and try using it. Okay, thank you.